Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have, ¿Qué vamos a tener hoy? We're going to have a great show for you today. We have a lot to cover. Good afternoon. It is Lee Grant is in the house. His hey y'all. Melanie Keelan is in the house. She says it's Friday, and thank goodness. I know. Unfortunately, Fridays for me just mean catching up for everything that I wasn't able to get done on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday. Then Saturday, I go back to do all the stuff that I get to go. Anyway, that's life. Deb Dene from Bloomington, Indiana is in the house. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. May Wood from Long Beach, California is in the house. Lee Grant from Montgomery County is in the house. Michael Rudman from Brooklyn, New York is in the house. And I await for all the rest to get here. But we are going to have a great show today. What are we going to talk about? Title of the show today is Red State Crime Rate. Some Latinos are moving to Trump. Another great job report. So I think I'm going to tackle the Latino thing first. Then we're going to probably hit on to the reaction to the great jobs report or the red state. I haven't decided which one we're going to cover then first. But anyway, let's kind of get all the folks in. If you're just chiming into the YouTube channel, please remember to give us that thumbs up. If you're just chiming into the Facebook, please remember to go ahead and give us that like. If you are listening to this on podcast, remember that our Facebook page is at facebook.com/politics done right. Of course, our YouTube page is youtube.com/Egberto Willies, youtube.com/Egberto Willies. And so check it out. Deb Dennis says, Michael Rudden, that should include women's rights to their own bodies. Funny that SCOTUS didn't consider that when overturning Roe. Let's see what are we talking about. Michael Rudden says, reading on this subject, let me get to the top so I can start from the beginning. It starts out, he says, AP News, Republicans block bill to protect contraceptives access as Democrats make election year push. That was yesterday. Seriously, what the hell are Republicans doing? We know what they're doing. Reading on this subject, I'm surprised that when people talk about rights, they never mention the Ninth Amendment. The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed or to deny or disparage others retained by the people. Your rights are what the Constitution specifically lists, as well as everything else the people say are rights after Congress make them so. All right. And to that, Deb Dennett replies, that should include women's rights over their bodies. Funny that SCOTUS didn't consider that when overturning Roe, which I agree with completely, Deb Denny. I agree that completely, Deb Denny. Now, it's been a while since I've read, probably 3 days or so, since I've read our great reporting from E2247, who keeps us honest by pointing out the numbers that occur in Israel, in Gaza, etc. So here we go. We're U.S. to be in the situation to, let me go ahead and start from the beginning for E2247. I like to make sure and get it numbers. Day 245 since the 7th of October 2023, at least 36,731 Palestinians killed, 77 persons more than day 244. At least 83,530 wounded. That's 221 persons more than day 244. Equal 120,261 casualties. That is equal to 491 people per day of estimated 5,385,012 of West Bank and Gaza Palestinian population, with 36,731 Palestinians killed, 150 per day killed, 38% are kids and women. Thank you for keeping us honest. 245 days into the war, the war is no longer about Hamas, but it's clearly a U.S., UK, Israel war on Palestine, river to the sea. 36,654 Palestinians are killed, 38% are women. I agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, let's see. Michael Ruddin says E22 has an impressive swarm of posts, more than usual today. Actually, it usually does that. He usually keeps us up to speed one at a time, and he tries to keep them short and not put them in one little thing. So it may seem longer than normal, but that's his style. That is brother E2247 style. And by the way, Mr. 227, I do appreciate that. Paul Fleming Sr. says, new. Justice Clarence Thomas acknowledged he should have disclosed free trips from billionaire donor. The trips include vacations in Indonesia at exclusive men's only Bohemian Grove retreat. Our Supreme Court is crooked. Just about everything. You know, we talk about all these other foreign countries, and we love to talk about how crooked they are and pay for play, and all of that. We do the same thing, just worse, and we do it with class. We have a way of doing it. You know, we know how to do it. Don't let anybody fool you. We are no different than anybody else. The crookery from a particular class is crookery all of the time. And the only way you get super wealthy to some extent is the crookery that you are able to manifest. All right. So, don't let the other stuff fool you. No, no, Egberto. It's the 200 character limit. E22 wants all posts to be visible on YouTube. Ah, so that's why he does it that way. I thought he was just being nice to me. Hey, so E22, I thought you were being nice, man. I guess that's not solely it, eh? Anyway, let's go ahead and do this. I want to go ahead and play you the second interview that I did with El Señor. Why sometimes I just send it. Pastor, El Señor Pastor, Doctor Pastor, the second that Manuel Pastor. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and play that right this very minute as I set her up. Welcome to another edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willis. Today we are honored to have Dr. Manuel Pastor. Manuel Pastor is a distinguished professor of sociology and American studies and ethnicity at the University of Southern California. He currently directs the Equity Research Institute at USC. Pastor holds an economics PhD from the University of Massachusetts Amherst and is the inaugural holder of the Terpangian Chair in Civil Society and Social Change at USC. Señor Manuel Pastor, welcome to Politics Done Right.
Gracias. Siempre un placer estar otra vez contigo.
Sí,
and
señor.
Fantastic that you speak not just Spanish, but you got the Armenian name right, Terpangian.
Oh, I am glad I did that.
It's great that you've got the Spanish right, but you also got the Armenian right. Terpangian is the name of the person who endowed the chair that I've got.
Well, good. I'm glad that I did that right. Anyway, Señor Pastor or Professor Pastor, let me tell you that as you know, right now in our space, Trump is claiming that there are a whole lot of Latinos that are starting to migrate to his side of the aisle, his form of thinking. And as much as many of us think it is crazy that somebody as racist, sexist, and xenophobic could possibly garner the support of Latinos. But yesterday, I was speaking to an undocumented worker, and we were talking about both the sentiment of undocumented workers as well as the sentiment of some immigrants coming in over the border in current times, as well as naturalized and what we call inmigrantes con papeles, immigrants with papers. And I tell you what, Trump may be onto something, and I wanted to hear from the expert how true and how widespread it is. But what he told me was that, yes, there are a lot of Latinos gravitating to Trump, and even he, as an undocumented worker, have a feeling for Trump because all those current undocumented workers are coming over here and they are getting their papers and they're getting support and housing and they're getting all these things that I work hard every day for. And they come here and get it all for free. Please tell me about the dynamics.
So there's a lot going on with that, and that is something that the thing you specifically mentioned, and I'll move to the bigger picture, that a lot of folks don't realize. Undocumented people in the country who got here 5 years ago were not able, like the current wave of people that are coming in, to ask for asylum for the most part and then be able to get some benefits and assistance. And it's interesting to watch these older undocumented folks, 5, 10 years, 15 years in the country, beginning to sound a little bit like right wing Republicans, resentful of the newcomers who've got all this access, but it's something that's really going on. And what is actually also going on is that there is a shift within the Latino population. It was easy to say at first in 2020 that it was really only uh, Texas Latinos on the borderlands, a lot of people who might be in Border Patrol, Cubans in Florida who were falling susceptible to Trump. But a closer look at that data showed that there were actually more Latinos in other parts of the country that moved towards the Republican Party even in 2020. And the phenomena is continuing to occur. It's not overwhelming, but it's significant enough that it could definitely cost Biden the election in November. So the real question is, why is it going on? A couple of different dynamics. First, there's a big gender divide. If you look at both in the Black population and the Latino population, who's moving over is men,
Males.
not women. So I think that there's one aspect of the Trump appeal that is very macho. And I don't mean that in a purely Latino way. If you look at the white population, his appeal to men is far outpacing his appeal to women. He's just callous, cruel, and brutal. And that has an appeal to someone who's got a macho idea of what does it mean to be a man. And that's what he's counting on. And that is shifting some Latino men and Black men into those columns. I think the other thing is economic conditions. That is, that there's a perception about the economy having been better under Trump. That perception statistically is incorrect. This is the lowest level of unemployment we've had since the 1960s. It's the lowest level of Black and Latino employment, uh, close to when it's ever been recorded. And uh, we're seeing the inflation rate come down. But I think there's a lot of hurt from the era of the pandemic. And there's also just a lot of sticker shock from the higher prices we're facing, even though the inflation rate has come down. I think the last thing is that there's a lot of Latinos who are actually pretty much law and order. And so, as progressives in the Democratic Party have moved in a direction which probably many of us support of reducing the carceral state, of being more forgiving of people who've engaged in petty crime, that there's a lot of working class Latinos who feel like my car got broken into. Why aren't we arresting the person for doing that? Why is that happening in my community? And Trump is speaking to that in a way that Democrats are not.
And it's ironic because I think you've nailed all of those, and it seems to me like the answer, most of the answer is, believe it or not, well, you know that education, meaning exposing them to the truth, but the other is also catering the message in such a manner that you just spoke about a kid breaking into a car, right? One of the things that progressives believe in is, yes, that kid breaking into a car should be penalized somehow, but it shouldn't make sure that their lives going forward it makes them a pariah for the rest of their lives, right? We know that that has something to do with the with the increase in crime. So whereas Republicans look at things that we are going to try to solve this problem today by the hook or the crook, but don't expand on that solution. There are other ways. We're not expressing that as I see it to these communities. My question to you is
I
how
would, I would say to that what has happened is that progressives are increasingly speaking to the already woke instead of
Right.
trying to figure out how to awaken and animate and tap into this population. And I think the thing to realize, Latinos are overwhelmingly working class. There's a thin group of people who are elite in the Latino community or professional middle class. Even people who are really poor in the Latino community generally are working, particularly undocumented folks, because they don't have any access to some of the social safety net that's there. So it's a very working class community. And so speaking to the working class about working class issues, housing, our economy, inflation, how to get a job, how to feel safe in your communities, that's something that, yeah. And by the way, how to speak, and we just have for the last few minutes without using complicated multisyllabic words that you need to have gone to college to understand. Um, that's how we're going to make this kind of an appeal.
You know what? It's amazing. I spoke to the undocumented worker that I was telling you about completely in Spanish, and I had some problems with some of the wordiology exactly because my Spanish is I left Panama at 18, so my Spanish is very simple, not the complicated language that one would get in college with the bigger words. I didn't do a lot of newspaper reading on economics in Panama as an 18-year-old, but so I could relate to him, and one of the things he said after I explained certain things, he said, you have to remember something. You are educated. Most of us are not. And that's what he said to me yesterday. And it kind of put it back. And even as it reflected what I've said, that we have to go to where the people are and not where we think they should be.
Yes.
And he accepted that, but he also said, but also the message, you have to remember that they're not going to try to study what you're studying. They just want to know what's going to help me now.
Yeah, and I think the point is that the education goes both ways. He is right to look at you and say you are more formally educated than than him. And he educated you yesterday on what
Yes.
people are really feeling. And I think when we have that level of respect for these voters, that's more possible for us to bring them on board. But I think the first thing to do with this, Egberto, is to not look at these voters and say, oh gosh, what is wrong with them? But to really ask the question, what is wrong with us that we're not communicating sufficiently so that a xenophobic, uh, sexist, uh, dangerous, uh, convicted felon like Donald Trump has such appeal. Um, and that means we need to challenge the sexism that exists in our community. That means that his macho appeal has some appeal. It means that we need to do all that. We need to listen hard to what and understand that this is a real phenomenon.
And you know what? I want to end it with those exact words because that is exactly what we need to do. Dr. Manuel Pastor, distinguished professor, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Love to be with you.
All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. Anybody wants to give us a call, you know what the number is: 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Let me get back to the chat. The chat is quite active. Paul Fleming says he says awful things. And North Carolina Democrat governor candidate torches Trump back GOP rival. That's a crazy dude that's running in North Carolina. I think the Democrats will retain that seat in the governorship. Paul Fleming says Joe Biden pulled off perhaps the greatest. Oops, let's see who that is. Bear with me 1 second. All right, welcome to Politics Done Right. Who do I have the honor of speaking with? Hello, you're on Politics Done Right. May I help you? Okay, person isn't speaking, but you give me a call back if you want to speak. All right, folks. Anyhow, yeah, I think we hold on to Georgia, not Georgia, to North Carolina, who has a Democratic governor right now. Paul Flamen says Joe Biden pulled off perhaps the greatest oil trade of all time. In the process, broke OPEC's grip, and basically no one knows about it. We did a long segment on it last night, and it's worth it. And by the way, folks, I have that segment. I just didn't process it yet. And let me see, I think I even already gave it a title because that story was one that I wanted my oil people to hear. I was going to play it first on KPFT, but that is actually, I think I titled it, let's see, where is it at? Ah, where are you? I know I did it this morning. How Joe Biden broke OPEC is what I called it because I think they used some permutation of that when they played it on MSNBC. So yeah, I'm gonna do a story on that one, Paul Fleming. Like good minds think alike. Good minds think alike. Breaking CNN: Alex Jones will liquidate assets, including Infowars, to pay Sandy Hook families. You know what? Yeah, he'll liquidate what folks can find here in the states, but I can guarantee you that Alex Jones has most of his money in the Caribbean somewhere and in some Swiss bank account. You know, these guys know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. Okay, Michael Hernandez says CNBC from April 2024, more Americans may be struggling to make ends meet. A majority, 65%, say they live paycheck to paycheck, according to CNBC and SurveyMonkey's recent Your Money International Financial Service report. That's a slight increase from last year's result, which found 58% Americans considered themselves paycheck to paycheck. Well, you know, we also lost some of the subsidies last year that the Republicans refused to give up. So mothers who were able to go to work because they had some help to pay for their kids, taking care of their kids while they go to work, those things were taken away from them, and in the process, they can't go to work. Their wages fall. They further live paycheck to paycheck. I'm telling you, we have some evil policies out there that sometime I hope we will mitigate. Anyhow, Paul Fleming says more rich donors are paying as much as $300,000 per person to attend Trump fundraiser in San Francisco. What do they expect in return for their money? Do you really need to ask that, Paul? I know you know that. I know you know that. All right, Bridge MCP is in the house. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Welcome. She says, Scoop, Mike Johnson seeks GOP votes for bill to support Trump after guilty verdict. The bill would allow current or former presidents to move state level charges against them into federal court. It is in direct response to Trump's conviction last week in New York. Johnson's leadership team is making calls to whip support for the measure. No More Political Prosecution Act, according to two lawmakers and two other House GOP sources familiar with it. In other words, they want to usurp state rights. Can you believe the Republican Party, that which used to be the members of the Democratic Party of old, now they don't so believe in states' rights. They want to federalize state rights. Wow. You know, it's amazing how these people think. It is amazing how they think. Anyway, uh we need to not fall for this kind of stuff, right? We need to toughen up and understand what's going on here. I saw another one that I think I wanted to read, but I don't see it quite now. Political Prosecution Act, idiots. That sounds just like it would be out of you, Bridge MCP. Okay, I have another video. This one has to do with reaction to the great jobs report that we had today. So let's go ahead and play that one, and then we'll take it on the other side. Well, guess what? The jobs report is out again, and we've got 272,000 more people who found jobs last month. It was 165,000, and people started to worry: is it starting to slow down, etc., etc., etc.? And then, of course, the right came in. Oh, the Biden's economy is failing. Of course, now we come across with a whole lot of people that are working again. And how did Wall Street react? Oh no, people are doing a little bit better. That can't be good for Wall Street. And why can't it be good for Wall Street? Because the feds may not lower interest rates, and lower interest rates would cause the stock market to go up as investments in paper earns a little bit less. Do you see the evil within this economy? Do you see an economy that makes no sense? It is a completely, this economic system, when I speak about it being a fraud, this is what I'm talking about. Because again, what they're constantly saying is the well-being of the American citizenry is directly in proportion, disproportional to the well-being of the wealth. If the American people start to accumulate some wealth, if the American people start to do a little bit better, then for the wealthy class, they may ask for a bit more, and we don't want that. I mean, it is amazing because what you have, well, I tell you what, listen to this piece, and then we'll take it on the other side.
America's economy is charging ahead with today's jobs report, beating expectations. New numbers for May show 272,000 jobs were added, and that is up from 165,000 in April. The unemployment rate ticked up slightly to 4%. So the hot jobs market means continued pressure on the Federal Reserve to regulate inflation and price growth. It is a major concern of voters. And joining me now, former top economic advisor to President Obama, Jason Furman, a professor at the Harvard Kennedy School. Jason, welcome. First of all, I want to get your reaction to the strong jobs numbers and the unemployment rate ticking up just a wee bit. But also, what does this mean for the Fed?
Yeah, so it's always exciting when you see this many jobs added in a month. That's just a lot more people working. A 4% unemployment rate, big picture, is still very, very low. It's a great thing we've been there for so long. In terms of what it means for the Fed, this was a mixed signal because the unemployment rate going up is consistent with a loosening of labor markets. All those jobs added is consistent with a tightening. Something is probably being mismeasured in the data here. On balance, I think this makes the Fed a tiny bit more likely to cut rates at some point this year, although that's not how the market saw it.
Okay, that's going to be music to a lot of people's ears. But let's talk about President Biden, who touted the latest jobs numbers today. But with poll after poll showing the economy is still a major concern for voters, he says, quote, "I'm fighting corporate greed by calling on corporations with record profits to lower prices, as Target and Walmart have for grocery prices. I'm fighting to make rent more affordable by building 2 million new homes." What is it that continues to drive voter discontent on the economy despite these numbers? They are strong numbers. There's also cooling inflation.
Yeah, inflation is coming down, but there's this issue of the cumulative inflation over the last couple of years. Yes, wages have gone up faster than prices, but they haven't gone up that much faster than prices. So wage growth has been a little bit disappointing when you look at real wages. But a lot of it also is just a generalized discontent with something that is not about the economy. I don't know quite what it is, because people do actually feel pretty good about their own financial situations. They are also spending money. So when it comes to voting with their wallet, they are voting their confidence in their economy. When they answer polls, they answer them differently.
Okay, and then you have non-wealthy Americans who remain frustrated with the economy. But I want to get your quick reaction to this CNBC headline. We're putting it up here, that the U.S. added 600,000 new millionaires last year. That's far outpacing the rest of the world, according to a new report. How do you square that?
Look, we're actually seeing the fastest wage growth for low and moderate wage workers. If we have more millionaires because we're a more productive economy, a more productive future, that's fine with me. We just should be taxing them. And then we should be using those taxes to reinvest elsewhere. And that's obviously one of the big debates we're going to be having over this election cycle, is whether or not to tax all those new millionaires.
Okay, we'll see if that happens.
Now we got 600,000 more millionaires. Oh my God. And the economy is doing so poorly. Look, one of the reasons we have 600,000 more millionaires, of course, is that we have one of the worst income disparity in the world, right? We have a horrendous income disparity because people are not paying their fair wage. But the good thing about it is that people are starting to unionize. Wages are going up finally faster than inflation. And things are, in fact, getting better, not as good as they must be, because in a fraudulent economic system, it is hard for that to happen. In a fraudulent economic system, the people who least produce are the ones who are rewarded. You notice what that thing said? 600,000 people got more millionaires. A lot of that had to do because we had AI coming into the fold. And what does AI do? Reduce the amount of jobs. AI is a composite knowledge of us all, concentrated and being able to be profitable for the few. An economic system, folks, that is fraudulent. I hope most of you who are listening to this program or to this clip will make sure to be regular members of Listening to Politics Done Right, where we discuss all these issues. We have been indoctrinated into believing an economic system like ours, as it is functioned, is somehow good for everybody. And we all have been conditioned to put the blame on the dysfunction within this economic system created by the plutocracy, the oligarchy, the corporate class. We have learned to deflect that blame to a president, deflect that blame to a politician. The only blame the presidents and politicians have is that they've allowed these crooks that run our economic system free reign and the ability to blame them for the pilfering the plutocracy, the oligarchy, the corporate class does. Look, employment, let's keep it going up, but let's make sure wages go down and demand that prices come down, because our prices aren't high because of too much demand for the given supply. They're high because corporations have this thing called pricing power, and they're using it against us all. And until we stop fighting among each other, until we stop believing the crap that comes out of the right and the neoliberal Democrats and conservatives, we are going to remain being indentured servants to a system that has us fighting each other instead of taking what's ours from those who are controlling it all.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Well, absolutely join. Absolutely join. Michael Rudin says, what drives voters about economic issues? They perceive Democrats as being half-assed in response to their struggles without realizing that Republicans would make everything they worried about worse. Not only that, because of the undemocratic nature of our country, an inordinate amount of a small amount of Republicans can actually block what Democrats and others want to do in the House. Take just a simple one of these votes required 67 votes to get it across the line. And of course, there are not 67 Democrats. Bruce Pollard is in the House. Welcome, Bruce. And Eric Hayes, I guess, just made in recently as well. Paul Fleming says 59 years ago today, Griswold versus Connecticut guaranteed the right of birth control. Justice Thomas says the Supreme Court should reconsider the ruling. And this week, 38 GOP senators voted against the Right to Conception Act. Republicans are coming for birth control. That's how they do it. And the thing about it is they lie as they coming up to do it, then they just go ahead and do it. And some of them don't pay the price, but we have to start making them pay the price for their wayward ways. We have to start making them pay the price for their wayward waves. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Eric Hayes, CIA sued for working with Biden campaign to produce 3051 Intel letter calling Hunter's laptop disinformation. Oh my God, you guys won't leave the laptop alone. Where do you really want to go with this? You know, you sit down there and like, are you guys nuts? Why don't you worry about something that's going to produce something for you? I could give you some advice, but I won't. I won't. Who was the president that was in charge of Reconstruction? The president after Lincoln was who? I don't remember. I don't remember who took the presidency after Lincoln got murdered. But anyhow, let me go ahead and what time is it? 38. That would put it at 46. Let's see what else we got here. Anybody wants to call in? That number is 281-823-7747. Before I continue, 281-823-7747. Anybody wants to have a good word? Anybody wants to put in a good info for something? British MCP says they want women to be barefoot and pregnant. How come Viagra is fine? Eh? That's true. Viagra doesn't, there's no problem getting folks to provide Viagra, but oh yeah, other things, what can I say? All right, let's see what else we've got here. Maywood says, not to mention consumer protection. I imagine that is a response. Lee Grant says, truth be told, men cannot control a woman's body. If they could, they choose to control their mouths. Oh Lord. You sound like a sexist brother. You're going to get in trouble. You are going to get in trouble, my brother Lee Grant. Let's make sure not to do those things. Okay, I'm going to hold the phones for one more time before I go and play the video to see if anybody wants to call in. 281-823-7747. I await your call. 281-823-7747. Who will be the first person to call? Politics Done Right today. I repeat that number, 281-823-7747. I'll wait about 45 seconds before I continue. Reconstruction, Lincoln, Johnson, and Grant. Okay. Thank you. I told you that I have the smartest people out there. And here we've got Brige. Good afternoon, my dear, beautiful
Hey.
Brige. How are you doing?
All right. I wanted to call in yesterday, but it was too late. And something happened to me here in town. And
What happened?
we have 2 town sites on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Well, I actually was kind of scared. I still am. But we have 2 sites. One is the regular site, and one is uncensored. You could say anything you want. So the other site is mostly where people post regular things and information, jokes, whatever. The other one can be crazy. But this elderly woman who happens to go to the seniors I go to, which I don't go often, but she posted something which we know is about Trump. It was like the definition of a narcissist and being in a cult. And that's all she posted, which I was shocked she did that. I was absolutely shocked. I was like, oh my God, that's so political. I can't believe she posted that. And then it started. All the people. And I was like, first I said, how did anybody know this is about Trump? And I just made a joke. And then somebody said something about they were all in a cult and all these religious and all religions should be whatever. And I said, please don't put all religions into that. That's not fair to, good ones. And then somebody commented to me, oh, you libtard, you this. I was like, what are you responding to? You libtard, this typical stuff that goes on with MAGA people. They just use all the same exact words and phrases that you could actually just get verbatim from Trump or Fox News. And I'm sitting there reading this, and they're just like piling on me, saying about Hillary and Hunter's laptop, and it was Biden that did this to him, and it was political prosecution, and blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh my God, you freaking idiots. So and they went down through the judge's ruling. How could he have a ruling that doesn't have to be unanimous? The judge is bought and paid for by Biden. I was like, oh God, I have to listen to this. And I really didn't say anything. So finally I said, I can't take it. So I said, all right. And somebody bulleted everything. So I went down to each one and answered him and said, no, actually, that's not true, blah, blah, blah. And it was all about the judge. And I finally said, instead of listening to Trump and uttering his words, it would be a lot easier if we just went online. Here's the site of everything that happened in court in print. Everything. It's from the site, what the law was, what he was charged with, how they voted, everything, and how he ruled on that guy not being able to testify. He was able to testify, but not the way the defense wanted him to. So that was in there. I did all that. Well, that became 190 comments. Everybody saying, we took you into this. I know. We took you into this town. You were so nice. You seemed so pleasant. We didn't know you were one of them. We know where you live. We know what your truck you drive. We know your little doggy. This is a small town. And I was like, holy crap. Now I'm in trouble. I better load my shotgun. So I said nothing wrong. This is just, go look it up. Why? If you can comment here, you can click that link and read it. You refuse to. I like this town. And there was a good amount of people that were agreeing with me. They didn't talk; they just were liking what I was saying. But the most of them, they just bombarded me, and then I was like, "Oh, what have I done? I unleashed something here, and this I never wanted to do this in this town because of the way they are. It's like 80% MAGA, and I don't get involved in anything. I don't say anything for fear because some of these people are nuts, and so that happened to me. So I didn't really sleep that well, and I got up the next morning and I went back on the computer and went there and I deleted every single thing that I said. So it looks like people are just replying to no one, just in case anybody else comes in. I untagged me from every single thing that they said. I untagged myself, and I have not been back on. And I'm a
Now,
little worried about this. Just wanted to share.
first of all, I don't, I look, we all, for what I do, I try to be careful, right? I try to tell my wife and my daughter to be careful because again, we are in this interesting political space. And, my house have been firebombed before, so I understand the issues. Now, the vast majority of people, they are what we call keyboard warriors. They get very pompous on
Oh yeah.
keyboards and they rarely do anything. The next thing is that the crazy ones, the people that do have mental problems that would be the only ones that probably try to get away by doing something. You guys are sufficiently, in my opinion, based on where you live. It's it's you have to get off the beaten trodden to come to you or whatever. So you're more than likely just safe. That was keyboard warring. But what I want to expand
I
on
think
what
I
you
am. It was.
Yes. What I want to expand though on what you had to say is how is the idea of how a small amount of people, the MAGA base, that's how they're trained. They are trained to come and attack and suppress your ability to teach, to inform others because of the fear that those that are not a member of the cult but have an affinity for Trump, those that are not a member of the cult but have an affinity for conservatism, don't get your knowledge, make them better people, make them able to think logically, and make these guys the fringe minority they really are. The idea is to shut you down. Let me tell you something else. That's why when I talk about a Democratic landslide in November, these are some of the factors that I'm looking at. I don't think polls in this sort of environment are unreliable. I'm going to give you some examples that I'm talking about. When we got all the polls from the midterm races, when we got all the polls for the women's rights votes on abortions, etc., they were all biased towards the right. In other words, they seemed to say that the right was going to win and either win big, win by a little, or the left would have lost by a little, and but most of the times not win. And these races all ended up in landslides. I'm telling you, people are scared for what happened to you to happen, right? But the one thing that people know is that when they go to vote in a booth, that vote is between themselves, the machine, and their God, or whoever or whatever that is. And
That's true,
that
and
is
that
the
I always
answer
say
you're
that to
going to
them.
get. Right. And one of the things that I put out in a lot of the messaging that I do is actually go out and tell people that when you are making your vote, remember that you vote your interests, you vote your faith, you vote your passion. You don't have to tell anybody how you vote. Just do it. And most of the times, the people that listen to, and by the way, Bridge, you would not imagine how many people actually clicked on that link. I can guarantee you that. They just won't say it.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, no, they won't
They
say it.
they
I understand that, and I understand
they
that
won't say it.
the people that wanted to say something, they won't say anything. They just liked what I said or loved what I said, or one of those things. But nobody
Uh,
like stood up for me. Nothing. I mean, nobody.
oh, they
And
won't.
then I went and checked their profile. Oh no, no one would say anything. They're afraid. But once I got into it, I was like, screw this. I'm tired of being quiet. So
Right.
I went and checked most of their profiles, and I'd say 90% their cover photo on Facebook is the upside down American flag. And I was like, wow,
Wow.
they're out there. These are real
Yes.
diehard friggin' core MAGA. They're like out of it.
And
They don't, and everything that they said, they just repeated exactly what Trump said after all the
but here's
news
the other thing.
conferences. I was like,
Yeah. Here's the other thing. Most of them don't live around you. Let me tell you other things that are
oh yeah,
occurring
they
right
do.
now. No, but I'm
Yes,
saying a
this
lot
is
of
my
I.
town site.
Uh-huh. Oh, so are those people that are
This,
invited into your site?
no, it's only 4 people who live in Afton. You have to prove to yourself to get into the site.
Oh, I
So
see. I
you
see. So
once
it's
you've
one
already
of
proven to get
those.
in, you're accepted.
Okay,
Yeah, and
got
a
it.
lot of
Got
the
it.
people, like I had just come from the store, and the cashier was one of the ones that was really on me. And then she started calming down a little bit, but because I made a couple of jokes about things, because she was like, Trump is CIC, and I was like, you mean? I said you spelled sick wrong, and she said no. I said, well, what does it mean? She goes, Commander in Chief. I said, oh, duh, and she laughed. So that was a positive sign. But other than that, she was all over me. These are people I see in
Also,
town. I mean,
you
there's
you
only
do
800
recognize some
people in
of
the
them.
village. Yeah, I know. I mean,
Oh,
I see them. I mean, I've been here 2.5 years now. These are these people that are in town. I mean, you can't, excuse the expression, you can't fart and someone doesn't say something. I mean, we don't even have a traffic light. I mean, it's small.
right.
There's nobody else here. So it's
Okay,
kind
got
of,
it.
like, uh-oh.
Yeah, well, no,
So
I
I know
think
my
I
name's
think
been
you're.
pushed around in all the circles.
But here's the funny thing about it, okay? The interesting thing about it is your community might be tied in, but let me tell you what's very interesting. There are now bots out there looking for whatever said negatively about Trump and hone in on it,
Oh, I
right?
know.
So yeah, so
Oh,
there are all
yeah.
these bots out there that are designed to hone in on the negative stuff from that people say about Trump, and they go ahead and attack, right? So I mean, the thing about it is we have to supersede that. Now it is important for us to stay engaged. But look, Bridge, you are a courageous warrior. You keep doing what you do. Let me tell you, don't do it. Don't allow fear to get to you. And for those that are listening on podcasts to this, etc., they promote fear. They promote fear based on lies, etc. We can't let that stand. That is a
Yeah.
way to lose our freedom. That is the way to lose all
Well,
of
that's what I
this.
was
We won't do it.
thinking.
Yeah.
That's what I was
No.
thinking. I was doing that. I was like, I'm not going to be fearful of them. They think it's their right to say all this crap and idiotic stuff. Well, no, you're wrong in what you're saying. You're right to your opinion, but you're not a right to change the facts.
Right.
So
And
I
not
felt
only,
fine doing it, and then when I saw all the hatred, I was like, oh, I
yeah,
didn't
well,
realize
let
I
me
would
tell
have
you,
the
I'll
backlash
be
I get
honest
because,
with you. I would not have pulled it down. I would have let it keep going and eventually just stop responding to it and actually see where it goes. Because again, a lot of these folks don't have a lot upstairs. That's why they can be so easily fooled. But you would never tell them that, but that is why they're so easily fooled.
no,
But you know what? A lot of them also
yeah,
want to learn on the other side. And again, how many loud ones did you
yeah,
have? Maybe 20, 30, 40, but most of them aren't. So look, we have to stay engaged. All of us have to stay engaged. So, but anyway, anything else, British,
of
before we
course.
go on?
But no, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing that very much. I have one more video to show, and then we'll end this baby. Okay?
Bye, guys.
Thank you for calling in. All right, one more video, and then we'll end this baby about red states. And here, come on, my dear brothers on the right, check this out. A few months ago, I pointed out some data that showed that predominantly the states that are dependent on the federal government to keep their books black, to make sure that their people are cared for, are generally red states. This is not up for conjecture. That's just a statement of fact. These low cost, low tax rate red states normally take a lot more from the federal government and the blue states are ultimately the ones supporting them. That's a statement of fact. So there's a myth that goes around that somehow, because we have people moving to red states, mostly for economic reasons, make a lot of money in blue states, it goes a lot further in red states after you've done after you've taken what you needed to take out of the blue states. Now, but when it comes to criminality, the same applies. We have most of the folks on the red side constantly preaching, oh my God, we are somehow in the crime rate is exploding in Baltimore, Maryland. The crime rate is exploding in Chicago, Illinois. You know, they take select states and select parts of states to show high crime and make it seem as if it is something across the board. Well, the good thing is always to have data, and that we have. How homicide rates by US states have changed. And if you take a look at red states versus blue states, what you're going to find is that the red states do terribly when it comes to the homicide rates, crimes. And, you know, that is to be expected. You invest less in your people. Guess what happens? Your people do what people in difficulties, what people have issues with. You get those types of problems. That's why the same problems you see in poor barrios, you see in ghettos, and you see in Appalachia, they mirror each other. Because again, it's a socio-economic issue, murder rates, etc. So what would you expect in poorer states? What would you expect with a poorer population where they're trying to fend for themselves, when they're trying to make it however they can, and some people use it by all means necessary? And if you take a look at the homicide rates, we had one of our Politics Done Right posse members sent me this link today, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make this a part of the show. In effect, if you take a look at between 2012 and 2022, crime in the aggregate went up. All right, I repeat, between 2012 and 2022, homicide rates went up. But it's not even. Where did it really go up? Mississippi saw a 103% increase. Louisiana, a 64% increase. Alabama, a 71% increase. Missouri, a 75% increase. Arkansas, a 39% increase. South Carolina, a 44% increase. Georgia, 74% increase. Tennessee, 49% increase. Alaska, 104% increase. I mean, and we go on and on and on and see how Texas, 49% increase. You see how, you know, California, the one that everybody likes to hate on, 13% increase. All right. New York, another one they like to hate on, 22% increase. But here is the kicker. Connecticut, super blue state. New Jersey, super blue state. 20.8% decrease for New Jersey, 2.3% decrease for Connecticut. So here's the deal. From 2012 to 20, homicide rates increase in every state with available data except Connecticut, New Jersey, and Rhode Island. And what it turns out to be is that the southern state, this is a list of the southern states, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Missouri, Arkansas, South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee. Notice in that group, only New Mexico and Maryland can somehow be considered somewhat blue states. When we talk about projection, this is what we're talking about. Republicans and red states governments and red state politicians project the bad things that are happening everywhere else, when all they need to do is look in their backyard to see what needs cleaning up. Because they need to clean it up, and they need to use some of that blue state money that they're sucking on to clean it up. They need to stop misinforming the good citizens of their states, the good Republicans of their states, the good Democrats of their states, the good independents and unaffiliated of their states. They need to stop lying to them, fooling them into believing that things are how they're not. Let's be real. The numbers don't lie. These red states in the aggregate are takers from blue states. These red states in the aggregate are more violent. More people get killed. These states in the aggregate, people have shorter lifespans. We spoke about that in other blogs as well. People in this state, in these red states, have less insurance, less health care, on and on and on and on. Is that the America that you want? Is that the America that you think is this great bastion of independence, of a freedom? Folks, stop listening to the misinformers. Join the Politics Done Right family, and let's all stay informed. If you want to get all this sort of information and keep this going, there are many ways to sign up for getting our newsletter, etc. Go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Sign up for a newsletter. We put all this sort of information out. Or if you want to see all the platforms that we're on, go to politicsdoneright.com/info. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. If you want to see about our newsletters, and it's right there in the bottom of the screen where you can get that link, or visit all our platforms, politicsdoneright.com/info.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely so, folks. Absolutely so. So join our network. Okay, let me do the ask real quick because we are at 4 o'clock even. Please remember there are many ways to support the program. You can support the program. First of all, you can find out all about the areas that we post. We have a lot of different platforms we're on. You can find that at politicsdoneright.com/info. That is politicsdoneright.com/info. Please remember, you can find all the different ways in which to support us by going to politicsdoneright.com/support, politicsdoneright.com/support. We need to generate some patrons. politicsdoneright.com/patron. Just sign up. You get to read all our books for free, whether you become a Politics Done Right patron or if you become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. Become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, and guess what? Read all my books. So far, I'm up to 5 books that are done. All of my books free of charge. So go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, sign up, and let's get busy. Anyway, folks, I want to thank all of you for being here. You guys have a wonderful weekend. Yes, Bridge MCP, you have a great weekend. To all of the people who are chatting, all of the people who are watching, love you all, and that comes directly from my heart. Support what we do. You remember when Obama said we are who we've been waiting for? That has always been true, and that continues to be true. We can't let what happened, the people use the intimidation that they did with Bridge MCP and others as somehow standard modus operandi. We have got to extricate that from our system. Let's keep going positive. Do not be intimidated. This is our country. This is our democracy. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.